Thanks everyone for coming back. Been reading recently about Madeleine Albright, who has a whole lot to say, let's say, about American politics. She used to be the Secretary of State for the United States of America some time ago now, and she, in her, it's almost like an autobiography she's doing. She's describing how the plan was that the globalist movement would be led by the United States, and the new world economy, the new world everything was going to be run by America. And somehow the plan went off the rails when Donald Trump became president. She says that she doesn't like to say anything bad about Donald Trump, but in her little diatribe there, she has nothing good to say about Donald Trump. And she campaigned for Hillary Clinton against Donald Trump, of course. But she's left out the bit about what happened to Hillary Clinton when she was competing against a man named Barack Obama, who usually goes by the name of Barry. I'm going to call him Barry just to be... The word Barack is not really part of my vocabulary. I can say it, of course, but it's... his real name, he goes by the name of Barry. So anyway, Barry and Hillary were competing to be the leader of the Democratic Party to run as president of the United States some years ago. And so a deal was made. As many of you may know, Hillary and Barry had a private meeting. They were both supposed to get on a plane with a bunch of journalists. They were going someplace, wherever it was. So they'd made a deal, supposedly. Now, this is all conjecture, of course, but Hillary Clinton backed out. Madeleine Albright said that at that time, if I hope I have this right, Madeleine Albright can correct me here if she likes, that the first woman president should have happened at that time. Instead, it was the first black president. And the deal went something like this. You get to be president for 4 years, and then Hillary comes back and she's the first woman president for 4 years. But that didn't happen, because Barry didn't like giving up the reins of power. Giddy up. And there was a former Prime Minister of England who was a close friend of Ronald Reagan. Margaret Thatcher is her name, and she has a very famous quote. She said, "No one willingly gives up the reins of power. No one." She's right about that. So Barry ran for 8 years as president. He was 8 years as president. He's supposed to have dropped out after 4 and let Hillary be president for 4. That was the deal, supposedly. There have been lots of journalists who have speculated on this, and political animals of all descriptions, but it didn't happen. It did not happen. And Madeleine Albright was angry, and she's still angry about it. And she is now campaigning. She's she's got a book out, and something else, and something else. And if I don't know if anyone knows, but she said she was asked about her activities in the country called Iraq, and she was Secretary of State, and she either approved or you see, in Iraq there was a little crisis when the war broke out, when America was invading Iraq. What did W. Bush call it? George W. He said the coalition of the willing. You're either with us or you're against us. I've had a Guinness. It's made in Ireland. It's a very nice quaff. However, here we go. So there was a policy to destroy and deny medical and food supplies in Iraq, and 500,000 children died. And when she was asked about whether or not that should have happened, she said, "I think it was necessary." Now, this is an interesting statement for anyone to make, not just that it's a woman, but for anyone to make, that 500,000 children should die, taken out of the equation of life, let's say. I don't understand how anyone could do that. I mean, they're not people of war. They have nothing to do with war. They are just little kids on their way up to become adults, of course, you know, and never going to fall in love, are they? As Neil Young says, never going to get to be cool and never going to fall in love. So when I read this article by Madeleine Albright, who came from the Second World War, by the way, as a child, escaping Nazi Germany. Um, you see, the Germans also had this idea that they were going to be the globalist leader too. And even though Madeleine Albright said it's supposed to be America, do you suppose Russia would have something to say about this? Or how about the new kid on the block, China? What do you think they're doing? How about the South China Seas, where they're building military outposts, pumping sand off the ocean floor, and putting airports there? Where they're all military, of course, and docking stations for their military vessels. Do you think they would have something to say about America running the globalist economy? But let's take a look at Donald Trump. He says the leaders of other countries of the world are doing the righteous thing for their country. He's not talking about globalism. I never see him talk about globalism. Hey, he's talking about, well, let's make a deal. In Canada, we had this guy, his name was Brian Mulroney. He's from Quebec. Quebec is run by Napoleonic Code. He's a lawyer from Quebec, so he studied Napoleonic Code, obviously. And Napoleonic Code are the laws of a dictator. And so he's used to hanging a dictator's way. So the NAFTA agreement is partly because of him, and he really pushed it, that this global economy, that North America was going to be a trading bloc, and Europe's going to be a trading bloc, and I don't know who's going to do something with the Asians. You know, Canada could go back into Vietnam, as we did during the Vietnam War, and, you know, we were hunting Charlie. So then, of course, after the Vietnam War, we had to deal with they were called boat people at that time. I was somewhat involved with that, by the way. That was interesting. I'm going to do a video on that because it happened to me personally, and I have personal experience about it. Canada, to my knowledge, had 39,000 troops in Vietnam. We used to say, the government of Canada used to say they were there as observers. But no, they were on the ground. Bang, bang. So, this is what happens in the new world that we're all trying to live in, and we have people from the past come out, like Madeleine Albright, and you know, she's going to straighten out history for us, and she's talking about Donald Trump, who's on his way to London, by the way, and then he's going to meet with some European leaders. So she's trying to scuttle his activities, because he says Elizabeth May is not going to know what to do with him. But Elizabeth May was part of the Brexit, which Madeleine Albright doesn't like Brexit. But Elizabeth May does like Brexit. Angela Merkel likes globalism. So does Madeleine Albright. Now, Madeleine Albright, I don't know that she actually lived in Germany. I think it was Czechoslovakia is where she's from. But anyway, Second World War was a bit of a nasty time. There's Linda Moulton Howe. If anybody want to look her up. She has a very interesting theory about how the Second World War got going and why it got going. It was very interesting. I just watched it last night on YouTube. It's fabulous. I didn't think of that. I had no idea that's what was actually happening. If she's right, then their history books are all very, very wrong. However, I'm putting it's our job as human beings to expose the darkness of the world. That's what we do. And I do have a cell phone. I'm sitting on my desk over there. It could be on. It could be listening to me. As Madeleine Albright says, her phone, she was speaking to a retired American military person on the phone, and he had an encrypted phone. She did not have an encrypted phone. And he pointed out to her, he said, you have to do something about your telephone. You have to spend a lot of money to get an encrypted one. She says, you know what, my phone has been tapped for years, and so has mine. Mine has been tapped since 1994 that I know of. That's when the action was taken against me by the government of Canada, which is a globalist economy. We have globalist leaders, people who want to put the whole world together, and we're all going to hug and sing Kumbaya. I don't see how that's ever going to happen. Cultures are cultures, people are different everywhere you go, and I can't see how we're going to melt them all together so that we could be one harmonious machine for the elite, which everyone knows exists. And just to give you a very good example of it, the city that I'm now currently working, Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, people are paying 120% of their income on housing. This, of course, you would think it can't last, right? You would think this can't possibly last. This has been going on for a few years now. but it's still lasting, and it's like it's a fantastic enigma. Like, how could this possibly be? How can you keep going into debt, more and more debt every year, by 20%, and it keeps going. It doesn't go pop. Why doesn't it go pop? In 2008 it went pop. Didn't go pop yet. We're at 2018. So who's pumping in all the money? Or who's got the magic pencil that can do all this accounting here? It's fascinating to me. It makes me a little bit perplexed. I almost said verklempt, but Madeleine Albright knows what verklempt means. Verklempt is a German word that was used by the Jews. The Jews used it, and it kind of means like, see, in Quebec we have this French expression, let's see if I can get it right. Je ne sais quoi. I don't know what. And verklempt kind of means the same thing, I don't know what, but it actually refers to a mental state of the person talking. I feel verklempt, I don't know what. You're anxious or nervous about something, as we all are. And it's Tuesday morning, July the 10th, 2018. My name is Terry Wheaton. I'm going to stop talking now, but I see these people from the past, and you can see that they had a plan, and Madeleine Albright was very clear about it. I thought, my God, you guys had this plan. You've been working on this for how many years now? And you didn't ask me what my opinion was. You didn't ask anybody. It's Madeleine Albright and George W. Bush and who knows who else. Who knows? Anyway, Linda Moulton Howe, if you want to look her up, her explanation of what was really going on in the Second World War, it was new to me. I had never thought of such a thing. It's fabulous. God bless her. Anyway, I want to get back to her cell phone. When she was talking to the military guy, the last time she ever spoke to him by phone, when he had his phone in his hand speaking to her, it caught fire and was destroyed, and he had to replace it. So she met him in person, face to face, because they couldn't talk by phone anymore, because it even burned his hand. I hope my camera's not going to catch fire. God only knows, or maybe it's my bow tie. I need a new one, you know. So, anyway, everybody have a nice day. I'm going to cut it off now. I also got to go to work today. Working rather hard these days, and it's the heat. The heat is on, so I'm getting a little exhausted. Everybody have fun. Bye-bye now. Doodly-doo.